Have you ever, poured a glass of wine and wondered where it really comes from? Not just the region, but the history.
Hmm.
Like, maybe it wasn't a sleek modern winery that perfected it, but monks centuries ago in these ancient monasteries. That's what we're digging into today. This deep dive is all about how these historic winemaking monasteries were, well, essentially the first wine research centers. They were blending deep spiritual devotion with some pretty groundbreaking practical innovation. We're looking at articles, historical accounts, various sources, really, to unpack the huge mark these places left on wine culture. It's kind of a blueprint that, believe it or not, still shapes what we're drinking right now.
It really is remarkable. And what gets me is how these monks wrote everything down meticulously. Their experiments, their observations, it created this amazing continuity of knowledge. Without that, so much could have just vanished, lost to time.
Exactly. And they weren't just making, like, basic table wine for mass, right?
Yeah, not at all. I mean, yes, for ceremonies, but they were really driven by this commitment to excellence, to innovation. That truly laid the groundwork for, well, for modern winemaking as we understand it.
Okay, so foundation. You mean they really built the structure from scratch?
Pretty much. Often in places you wouldn't even think of.
Right. So let's dive in. Where should we start this journey? Burgundy.
Burgundy's perfect.
Yeah?
Let's talk about the Abbey of Cluny, founded way back in 910 AD. This place became a Benedictine powerhouse. And they didn't just make wine, they brought this scientific rigor to it. They systematized viticulture with just incredible precision for the time.
Okay, systematized how? What were they doing differently?
Well, think about it. Winemaking then could be pretty random. Cluny monks, they changed that. They had detailed systems for picking vineyard plots, analyzing soil, sun exposure, figuring out what grapes worked best where.
Wow. So plot by plot.
Exactly. And they knew controlling the yield, how many grapes per vine, meant better concentration, better wine. They wrote down fermentation procedures for consistency, organized their cellars for proper aging. This wasn't just farming. It was like the birth of precision viticulture.
That's incredible. Thinking about individual plots centuries ago,
Yeah.
that's mind-blowing. And even though Cluny itself, the abbey, is mostly gone.
Right. Sadly destroyed.
Its influence is still right there in Burgundy's vineyards, in the organization.
Absolutely. That whole quality focus, the detailed vineyard map, you can trace it back. When you taste a really fine Burgundy, that nuance, that precision, you're kind of tasting Cluny's legacy.
Okay, so from Cluny's precision in France, where next?
Let's cross the Rhine. Head into Germany's Rheingau region. Anyone who enjoys a crisp German Riesling? Well, you probably owe a debt to the monks of Kloster Eberbach.
Kloster Eberbach. Founded when?
1136. Cistercian monks this time. They essentially became the guardians of Riesling. They established it as Germany's noble grape, and their location was perfect southwestern slopes right on the Rhine.
So, Riesling specialists. What kind of breakthroughs did they have there? It sounds like more than just growing grapes.
Oh, much more. Their impact was huge. They actually cataloged different Riesling clones.
Like an early genetic library?
Kind of, documenting characteristics. And here's something amazing. They started the world's first organized wine auctions.
No kidding. Auctions.
Yes, a practice they still hold there today. It set a model for how fine wine is valued and sold. They also figured out cellaring techniques for these high-acid whites. And, maybe best of all, they pioneered late harvest styles, those famous German dessert wines. That started there.
Wow. So not just making wine, but creating the whole, economic and quality structure around it.
Exactly. They really helped define world-class Riesling.
It's fascinating. And those cellars were in the Name of the Rose movie, right?
That's the place. Those dramatic vaulted cellars. Living history.
Like a living history indeed. Let's keep moving. Southwest now, to Spain.
Yes, to Rioja. The monastery of San Millán de la Cogolla, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it had this really unique dual role.
Dual role. How so?
Well, they were cultivating some of the earliest Tempranillo vineyards there, but at the same time, in their scriptoriums, they were preserving the very first written examples of the Spanish language.
Whoa. Wine and words, literally side by side.
Exactly.
How did the writing part influence the winemaking? Or did it?
Oh, it did. Profoundly. The monks wrote down early Tempranillo growing techniques right in their manuscripts. They basically created some of the first records of Spanish wine terms. Their notes on managing vineyards informed practices across Spain. It helped build that foundation, especially for Rioja's long-aging tradition.
So you can see the direct link from their notes to, say, a modern Reserva or Grand Reserva Rioja.
You absolutely can. The documentation was key.
Speaking of direct lines and foundations, we have to go back to Burgundy for a moment, don't we? To the Côte d'Ivoire.
Ah, yes, and Vivant Abbey.
This one's connected to some seriously famous dirt.
That's putting it mildly. The monks there owned and farmed the land that would eventually become Romane Conti.
The Romane Conti vineyard, wow. And the sources say these monks were basically figuring out terroir way back then. Can you explain that?
Yeah, this is where it gets really insightful. These monks weren't just growing grapes, they were observing intensely. They noticed how tiny changes, a bit more slope here, different soil there, affected the wine from that specific plot.
So the unique character of a place.
Precisely. They were developing the concept of terroir centuries before anyone called it that. They even drew boundaries around these plots based on those observations.
Boundaries that influenced the official classifications later.
Directly. Those boundaries helped inform the French AOC system, the rules about where wine comes from and how it's made. It's all about quality and origin.
So their incredibly careful observation basically created the blueprint for how we classify quality wine worldwide. They were reading the land.
Reading the land, exactly, and sometimes that land was really challenging. Let's jump to the Swiss Alps, near Zurich.
Okay, Alps. That sounds tough for grapes.
It is. But Einsiedeln Abbey, founded way back in the 10th century, showed how it could be done. These Benedictine monks adapted brilliantly. They produced amazing high-altitude wines, real cool climate stuff.
What kind of clever tricks did they need up there? It must have been freezing.
Ingenuity was key. They developed techniques to actually get the grapes ripe in that marginal climate, maximizing sun, mitigating cold. They figured out how to protect vines from brutal winters, even developed grape varieties that worked with shorter growing seasons.
And harvest must have been critical.
Absolutely. Precision harvesting, getting the timing just right was everything in those difficult years. They really proved that dedication, that careful observation could make wine growing possible, even in seemingly impossible places, inspired others in tough regions.
Okay, from the high Alps, let's travel back down to Spain again, near Barcelona.
Yes, to the absolutely stunning Montserrat Monastery, perched way up on those jagged mountains.
Iconic place. And its role in wine was also about preservation.
Very much so. Montserrat was a cultural anchor, especially during difficult times for Catalan identity. They didn't just make wine, they helped save indigenous Catalan grape varieties that might have just vanished otherwise.
Wow, saving grapes.
Yeah, and they integrated winemaking with herbal medicine, with their religious life, developed specific vineyard techniques for that steep, mountainous terrain. Montserrat became this symbol of resilience, making sure that regional wine knowledge survived. The Catalan wine renaissance happening now owes a lot to them.
That's a really powerful connection between culture and agriculture. Okay, next up, Italy, Tuscany.
Let's go to Tuscany. Near Siena, the rolling hills, you'll find Monte Oliveto Maggiore, founded 1313, big, beautiful brick monastery. And they were crucial in developing techniques that would pretty much define Chianti. Their influence on Italian wine rules lasted centuries.
Chianti. Okay, so what were they doing specifically? How did they shape that famous wine?
Well, they were real innovators in the vineyard, pioneering pruning methods to balance vine energy and fruit quality. That's huge. They came up with blending formulas, which grapes to mix, that directly influenced later Chianti regulations. They worked out planting systems for vineyards to maximize sun. And, really importantly, they set aging protocols for Sangiovese wines.
Sangiovese, the heart of Chianti.
Exactly. So many of Tuscany's best practices didn't come from, say, noble estates initially, but from these monks working the land year after year.
Refining everything. And that discipline helped create the standards for Italy's quality labels, like DOC, DOCG.
Absolutely. Their work laid that groundwork for quality assurance.
Amazing. Their influence seems just as visible on the landscape in Austria, right? In the Watcher Valley.
Oh, definitely. Melk Abbey, that incredible golden Baroque building towering over the Danube, founded even earlier, 1089. Melk is where you see some of Europe's most stunning terraced vineyards. They basically turned sheer cliffs into productive farmland. Pure ingenuity.
Terraces on near vertical slopes. How on earth did they manage that? What were the engineering feats?
It's incredible. They developed highly specialized terracing methods, carving out land. They built stone walls, not just for support, but to retain heat, helping ripen grapes in that cooler climate. Very clever.
Using the stones to store warmth.
And they championed Gruner Veltliner. They saw its potential as a top-quality white grape for the region. They even built gravity flow wineries, using the slope to move grapes and juice gently. way ahead of their time.
So that focus on quality, not just quantity, really built the Huacho's reputation for great white wines.
It did. And that whole landscape, the terraces, it's now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a direct result of the monks' vision and hard work.
Okay, this is fascinating. Now, perhaps the most unique case, Mount Athos.
Ah, yes, Mount Athos in Greece. An autonomous monastic republic, 20 monasteries, still working, still making wine. It's this unbroken chain of winemaking going back over 1,000 years. Just incredible continuity.
1,000 years.
Yeah.
So what's the key takeaway from Mount Athos? What makes their winemaking stand out today?
Well, what's truly mind-boggling is their preservation of ancient Byzantine grape varieties, stuff you just don't find anywhere else, a living genetic archive.
Wow.
And they practice natural winemaking, using the yeast already on the grapes, minimal intervention. They were doing organic viticulture centuries before it was trendy.
So very traditional.
Deeply traditional. Winemaking is woven into their spiritual life, their Byzantine heritage. Drinking their wine, it's like tasting history. A connection to how wine might have tasted in medieval times. A liquid time capsule,
A
really.
liquid time capsule. I like that. Okay, one more stop. Italy again.
Yes, let's go to South Tyrol, or Alto Adige. Novicella Abbey. They've been making wine continuously since 1142.
Since 1142. Unbelievable.
It really is. And Novicella is amazing because it shows how these places balance deep tradition with very thoughtful innovation, even today.
How do they manage that balance? What are they known for?
They specialize in those wonderful aromatic alpine whites like Sylvaner, Kerner. They develop techniques specifically to keep that freshness you get from mountain wines. And get this, they have documented vintage variations for nearly 9 centuries.
900 years of harvest notes.
Imagine that data. And they've adapted. They use their traditional knowledge, but apply it to challenges like, climate change. It shows incredible foresight.
And they're still a working winery today,
Yeah.
making acclaimed wines.
Absolutely. Internationally recognized wines, while still being this incredible historical and cultural institution, they prove these places can still be vital and relevant.
It's an incredible journey through history.
It really shows how the influence of these monasteries goes way beyond just their walls, doesn't it? They built the foundation for quality wine. Patient observation, writing things down, experimenting. They had this long-term vision, this commitment to, sustainability, centuries before we started using that word.
Yeah. It really transformed wine from just, something to drink into this expression of place, of culture. So next time you're enjoying a glass of wine, maybe pause for a second. Think about the monks whose hands might have shaped that style hundreds of years ago.
Whether it's the precision of Burgundy, those ancient Greek grapes, the terraced vineyards in Austria, they basically created the template for quality that producers still follow all over the world.
Their legacy is right there, in the glass. It's a testament to patience, dedication, that reverence for the land. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other things we enjoy every day have these, surprisingly deep roots?
Yeah, what other everyday things owe their beginnings to figures you'd never expect?
And here's a thought. If these monks could innovate so much, with such limited resources back then, but with this incredible long-term view, what does that teach us about perseverance? About having a long-term vision in what we do today?